Time now for Keller at Large with a closer look at the country's immigration laws. Here's John Keller.
Well, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Our guest this morning is a longtime outspoken voice on issues of public safety and immigration law, among other things. He's the sheriff of Bristol County, now entering his 20th year in that job. Sheriff Tom Hodgson is with us. Welcome, Sheriff.
Thanks for having me, John. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. Thank you for coming in. So, the state Supreme Court has ruled that detaining someone against their will on behalf of federal immigration officials is essentially an illegal arrest. And there are now 3 competing bills that have been filed on Beacon Hill to sort of fill that void. You have come out in favor of a bill that would give law enforcement the power to make arrests strictly on the basis of immigration status, relying on the judgment of the arresting officer. Governor Baker wants to limit that to people seen as a, quote, threat to public safety, and they go on to detail basically violent criminals. What's wrong with that compromise?
Well, what's wrong with it is we don't know that somebody who may not have committed a crime isn't one of the 9/11 hijackers that ran into the World Trade Center. We don't know in these instances where ICE expresses an interest in somebody. It may be a national security interest. We don't know what the background is. So we have to be working in partnership with all our federal law enforcement agencies. If they ask for somebody, they have a need to hold them. They're not just simply just saying, grab somebody because they're an overstay. Something's triggered something on their end, and it could very well be somebody that could be tied into some terrorist activity that we don't know about and hasn't committed a crime.
Sounds pretty speculative. I mean, and I guess the whole core, or much of the whole legal argument over this has to do with, you know, probable cause. You're supposed to have probable cause to arrest or detain someone.
And when ICE now asks us to do that, they submit an administrative warrant now with every one of their detainers. So they are saying we have probable cause to hold this person. We're taking them on their word based on their federal authority, and we're cooperating with the federal agency as we would any state agency that might ask us to hold someone.
You know, Sheriff, some months ago I had Rob Dolan, the mayor of Melrose, longtime mayor. They're hardly a knee-jerk liberal, talking, and I asked him about this. His response was he didn't want to call Melrose a sanctuary city, but at the same time he wanted to send a message to the feds. Our police force doesn't have the time or the resources to act as your agent in these kinds of issues. And if you want us to do it, you darn well better pony up some dough to compensate for it. Do you agree with that?
Oh, of course. And I think the federal government gets that. They're working on some things right now down in Washington to make sure that we have the resources and the money that are going to support this initiative. And I think you're going to see that coming pretty quickly.
Now, you testified at a hearing on Beacon Hill recently with regard to this immigration bill, and at the hearing you were challenged to back up your claim that illegal immigration equals more crime. And the critics argue that isn't true. And then an article in the Globe, they claimed your office failed to make the case on that. We hear that claim a lot. We heard it a lot from President Trump when he was candidate, Trump, and from others. Is that a responsible, verifiable claim, or is it sort of urban legend?
It's a common sense claim. If those people weren't in this country illegally and hadn't committed a misdemeanor by crossing the border, they couldn't have committed the crime. So just that alone would tell you that if those people ask the mother of Matthew Denise in Milford, or ask Maureen Laguerre, whose brother was also killed in Milford, and another resident of Milford. Within 2 years, 3 people killed by illegals that didn't belong here. So yeah, if they're here, those people would still be alive today if those people hadn't come into this country illegally. And what do we say to the people who come in the right way? You're fools for following and respecting the laws of the United States? We can't have that.
I hear what you're saying. I guess the issue is, as a statistical matter, do illegal immigrants commit crime at a greater rate than people who are here legally?
Well, I don't think that's the question.
Okay.
The question is, should the American people and the legal residents of this country be subjected to more crime than they otherwise would, loss of a loved one that had great promise to be in the Olympics or whatever, because we said, hey, illegals commit less crime, so therefore that should be a reason why they should be sort of a special class of people who are forgiven from having to abide by our laws.